Hello, I'm Annie Woodford, and I'm a poet who lives in Deep Gap, North Carolina, in Watauga County. Thankfully, I do not live in a part of the county that was really hurt that much by the hurricane, but there's definitely many people in Western North Carolina who still need your help. So thank you for continuing to try to be there for people in Western North Carolina. The first poem I wrote after the hurricane, and it's called Love Poem for the Appalachian Rainforest. The trees as ribcage, as sea, bare branches tapping each other, signing furiously the word for wind. Temperate rainforest filled with broken trees, bracken tender. We pray for damp weather, fog, snow, a proper frozen sojourn among high country clouds, plumping moss and lichen, needle and loam, trees breathing wet breath against each other, heavy enough to float, to form their own ecology of hope. That poem came about after a couple of discussions I had with folks about how many downed trees we have and how dangerous that is with the possibility of fire. This next poem has an epigraph from a nursery rhyme. So it's called Let Down Thy Milk. And there's a nursery rhyme that goes, Cushy cow Bonnie, let down thy milk, and I will give you a gown of silk and a silver tea, if you'll let down thy milk to me. All the winnowing world is rain-blind and blurred with mist. Let it be said, the dead are missed. The neighbors sold their late father's herd last week. I did not have to hear the cattle cry. They were just gone on my last walk. My child and I have loved their black shapes blending into dusk, their large heads slowly lifting to observe us, a shifting of planes and deep eyes, a light thrown back from the shadows, calves bedded down in grass, one wild and leggy, willing to lope right through the fence and graze unbounded, while the others tried to call it back. Their blue vowels wove the tree lines. The lamed bull dragged his hoof. Now only one mother and her calf are left to watch for dogs and coyotes alone, a vigil of senses all night. All the flies go to her now, her sides shivering with their welter. Otherwise, she is smooth in many shades and silvers of black, a massive heat radiating off her flanks, her gaze taking us in as we approach with melon rinds she will not take from our hands, preferring to eat them off the ground, her big flat teeth a patience of grinding, a sound like the way the earth will one day take us in. And if you heard something in the background, that's my dog drinking water. This next poem is titled 1.5 degrees, which is the global temperature rise limit required to prevent large-scale suffering, according to the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. Where does that shake in Mama's voice come from? What will our daughters do with all this rain, all that fracked water flooding the Gulf? How long before the tipping point? Is the future a burning throat, a boat with no home, a hemlock dead to the crown? To be hungry, to live underground, bombs falling on bombed-out houses, has always been present tense. But in America, we are still brutally innocent. The power flickers on and off. The lights flicker and then stay off. We have been dreaming our own demise for too long now. But my girl, she searches the internet for inspirational sayings. She asks how much college costs. She stands on her toes to see how close we are in height and imagines the forest before the hemlocks died, before the chainsaw found it, before temperature shifts and weed killers silenced the insects, silenced the birds. This poem is about a stage of salamander that you'll see sometimes in the woods in the spring. They're like a beautiful, like orangey red. So it's called Eft. The red salamander spotted last year among the woods' rain-soaked leaves, pulsing with a riddle I have yet to figure, will be full-grown now and hidden among moss and mud, its fragile glow gone except as an image I recall against the muted brown slopes, the young and dripping trees, a whole, humming southeastern hillside, timbered at least twice, but growing now, oaks rising above understory. And this one takes its title from WJKS, which is a radio station where the Monroe brothers played in the 1930s. So it's called Joy Kills Sorrow. Further up the mountain chain, fire pours from faucets. In Centralia, the coal vein burns. Mineral rights are being asserted in Washington National Forest. Tonight, though, we listen to string music under open skies, Monroe's Roanoke rolling with thunderheads that may or may not blow by, clouds mounding down the Great Valley from Draper's Meadow westward to the Appalachian Plateau, over 30,000 acres of interstate and stripling trees, subdivisions glistening with runoff once the rain passes. A song rises from the ozone, the wind translating into mandolin, sound waves still ringing through dirt, the water table, welling, the benzene-soaked rock, fracked, collapsing, joy-killing sorrow, even in the dark. And I should have mentioned that that poem was written after hearing the mandolin player Chris Thiele play in Roanoke, Virginia. This poem is titled, My Father's House Had Wheels. Somebody ought to chronicle all the pretty trailers people make in my part of the country, the ones covered in cedar shakes or paneled inside with pine. My daddy added a room onto ours, and then my cousin bought it and put in tongue and grew floors he'd reclaimed from a cabin falling in somewhere in the southeastern Virginia woods. Wood smoke rises out of their creek rock chimneys. Wood smoke rises out of my chest. God is a widow lifting up her gold-rimmed glasses to wipe at her tears. And I have a couple of more for you, and I really appreciate you listening. This one is called When God Was a Child, and it takes its title from a poem by the North Carolina poet Kelly Cherry. They gathered the red grasses, downy with autumn seeds, and swung them through the air until filaments of angel wing floated off toward a field of grazing cows. They rested their heads against her flank and felt her massive heat, the gurgle of her many stomachs, the soft pulse of her ever-moving jaw. At night, they stretched out under unfamiliar stars and said these words to themselves, the dirt warm beneath them, warm dirt. And this last one is called Loving Kindness, which is a word I learned from the novelist Tayari Jones. Start with place names in western North Carolina. Boomer, Level Cross, Shacktown, Trap Hill, Vashti, Vilas, Devotion, Harmony, Love Valley, Hidden Night, Ennis, Cricket, Rhonda. Send them to your brother who would understand their delight, though he drive by your house and does not stop. Let them be a map on the way to agape.